Ladies and gentlemen, the ZoWilliams Morning Show, back in the building, Monday, August 11th, 2014. We're on T Radio V. That's Radio NTV. Today, special day, special topic, special show, and I want to cover some things. Listen, follow me on Twitter right now, at ZoWilliams. That's ZoWilliams, at ZoWilliams. What I want to do is throughout the show, read off some of your comments pertaining to the unprovoked slaying of the young brother in St. Louis, Michael Brown. As a matter of fact, kill the music right now. You know, we, or at least I do, I take this show very, very, very seriously. You know, we try to promote products, we try to promote books, we try to promote all types of things, you know, just to get you thinking differently. But if we can't use the platform to change the community, then it's just entertainment and we're wasting everybody's time and everybody's life. So with that said, I'm open to suggestions for what we can do to help that young brother's mother. I heard her say, you know, it was hard enough getting him to graduate from high school. Your brother's 17 years old. I have a 17-year-old son who has a bright future. I'm sure that young brother had a bright future. We recently did a show called To Disrespect and Serve. And I wanted to point out, you know, the prevalence of police brutality in American society. And I also wanted to talk about how police are not designed to take care of you, to protect people. They're designed to protect industry. And now police are now policing stereotypes. So they didn't know that kid graduated from high school, 17-year-old. They didn't know that kid may have had some aspirations to, you know, leave St. Louis and do something with himself. They didn't know. But because he's from a particular socioeconomic background, because he's from a particular neighborhood, well, I get to not use reason. I get to not use, you know, discretion or anything. I get to just act without prejudice, you know, with brute force. I get to just pull out my gun and shoot this kid who's on his hands and knees with his hands in the air and he's unarmed. So I get to shoot him in the head while the entire neighborhood is watching. So my question is, you know, well, not really a question, but my hope to the brothers and sisters in St. Louis. I was here in 91 when the flashpoint arrived with Rodney King at Florence and Normandy, right? I was there when that went down. And we destroyed Los Angeles. We destroyed some businesses in our neighborhood, right? And everybody's saying, oh, yeah, looting and rioting. Listen, we need a more uniformed, strategic approach. Jeff Brown says it all the time. We've got to hit them in the infrastructure. We can't hit them with force. They are ready to go to war with the American people on American soil. Please understand that, okay? No one is a better warrior than the American government. They've already proven that across the world, right? Okay? You know, they're good at going into countries and killing people, right? They dropped over 500,000 bombs on Iraq. That just Iraq alone. Just a reminder, here's 500,000 of these in your neighborhood, right? They can kill really well. Soon as you started to riot, what did they do? They brought tanks in on the freeway. They are ready to kill more of you. So the response, more of us, the response has got to be strategic. We've got to hit them in the infrastructure. What happens if the Nation of Islam, Bloods and Crips and all the rival gangs and rival turfs joined forces? What happens then? And not just for a military, but what about for an economic strike? Right? All of the corporations that support those corrupt police officers, those corrupt police forces, we stop supporting those corporations. Right? You got $1.1 trillion of income to spend on shit. Why not direct the flow of the currency? Direct it away from corporations that support organizations that turn a blind eye to police brutality, that support those police forces. We've got to do something where we organize a strike. We've got to strike, though. I am of an intellectual angle, but at the same time, I just feel like America is trying to pick a fight with itself, with its people. Like, you know, at some point, the people are going to say, God damn it, enough's enough. And then there's going to be bloodshed and carnage and turmoil in the streets. And I think as I see certain things going down, I think that's what they're pushing for. Right? 9/11 took away a lot of social liberties. The Patriot Act came through. The Constitution is on vacation. Please understand that. Please, the little laws and rights you think you have, you don't. So there has to be an organizational, strategic movement put together. And I'm calling on my brother Tariq Nasheed. I'm calling on my brother Dr. Umar Johnson. I'm calling on anybody who's really, really down to do it. I'm down to do it. I'm down to do it. I'm calling on anybody that's down to do it. I'm down to do it. Whatever it is, we sit down, we talk, we put together a plan of action, and then we execute without hesitation. But the only way to do that is we got to get rid of self-hate. We got to get rid of the crabs in the barrel mentality. We got to get rid of Willie Lynch. We got to get rid of all of the Negroisms that have locked us into a state of enmity against each other. Bloods and Crips got to stop. How about that? What if Bloods and Crips became one gang? And their ultimate purpose was to fight against police brutality. What would that look like? What would our world look like then? Right? What about the billion-dollar couple, Jay-Z and Beyonce? Why don't y'all throw some money behind that movement? Let's see how high up you still would be. How many corporate sponsors would you have? Right? What about all of the black intelligentsia? I asked for you guys to come in too. What about it? We got to stop trying to strategize a strike while being integrated into the sick system. It's like smoking a cigarette and having a fruit juice at the same time while you're in the hospital, right? For diabetes. I'll have this coconut juice right now and some crack and a cigarette all at the same. It's counterproductive. We've got to come together as a people, and all of the divisions, all of the arguments and infighting is the main reason why we can't mobilize and do something right now. The police would respect us if we owned their chief. We can't own the chief if we don't have any type of economic strategy in place. So I say all of that to say, man, to Mike Brown's mother, to Michael Brown's mother, I love you. I'm in awe of your strength. I don't know how I would respond. I would be in the streets wilding the fuck out if it was mine. You know, I'm sorry for your loss. My condolences to you and your family. And we shouldn't let your son die in vain. And I don't have all the answers, but I'm asking for help from anybody on Twitter, anybody on Facebook, Instagram, social media. Get at me with a plan. And I'm down to do it. I'm down to do it. I'm hurt. I'm disappointed. But I don't want you guys to tear up your city. All right? It's not really your city, though. I get why you pissed. I get why you looting and banging, and I understand. But we have to have a more focused attack, a more strategic attack that will have a lasting impact generations to come. You know, you can burn down a building, they can rebuild another one with you out of the community. So, with that said, that's my community empowerment segment. Really quickly, go buy Bobby's book, Real Men Don't Play. Get Elijah Muhammad's book, How to Eat to Live. There's another book you should get called You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty. Water for Health, for Healing, for Life. Please purchase a copy of my book, The Rebirth of Seeds, at my website. I am ZoWilliams. I'm rocking this brother's shirt, Black Company, Eye for an Eye. I wore this today because I was feeling that way, and I still am. You can buy this at More Gold Clothing. More is MOOR, goldclothing.com. Also go to Black Mastery. You know, get the Black Mastery program so we could get rid of some of these negative limiting beliefs that actually kind of distort our ability to get together, to unify. My special guest today is a brother who put together this juice line. It's called We Juice. Right? Everything here is organic and raw. You know, raw and organic, and he juices them and sends them out. WeJuice.com. Please support his movement. Again, this is an economic society that's based on classism. And as long as you're in the socioeconomic position you're in, the only way for us to rise as a unit, as a collective, is to support each other. And when we support each other, then we can buy politicians. Then we can buy precincts and prisons and all of that. But right now, we don't have that level. We don't have that power. So they get to come in our communities and kill us at will. So, holla at me. I need to know what y'all think. We'll be back with the topic. Zo What Mornings. See you in a second.
And one of the greatest tragedies in life is getting to the end of your life and looking back and realizing it was mediocre, and it didn't have to be that way. The number one reason is people are unwilling to listen and care about what's important to the other person. But what if you could be someone who dared to care about everybody in your life? When you're in love, smoke gets in your eyes. But when you're anxious, you talk more than you listen. I asked my wife a month ago, I said, I don't know whether to have an affair or buy a motorcycle. And she said, if you have an affair, I'll kill you. If you get the motorcycle, you'll kill yourself. Go with the bike. Well, today the talk is about nutrition. We're going to talk about does toxic food lead to toxic relationships. Actually, I think that's backwards. I think toxic relationships cause you to take poor care of yourself. And in fact, someone told me that there was some research done that more people go off a diet and exercise program, unless they love both, after they've had a close encounter of the worst kind. So after you have just met with someone who really ticked you off, who made you want to pull your hair out, the last thing you want to do is deprive yourself of food that's comforting to you. And in fact, I'm on the board of actually Dr. Oz's Health Corps Foundation. I'm one of his advisors, and one of the things we talk about is a lot of people in the inner city need comfort for the stress, and especially in St. Louis, it is awful. And the problem with a lot of unhealthy food is it's comforting. And until you teach people some way to make the pain bearable, it's going to be tough to take away something that may not be good for them health-wise, but they're not thinking long range. They're just thinking sometimes about how to make it through the next minute. So until we find ways that people can do something inside to make the pain, the fear, the anger go away, I think it's going to be a hard road getting them to eat healthier and exercise.
And with that said, today's topic, off the charts. you know how we do. We always come with heaters, and today is no exception to the rule. Population control, fact or fiction? Killer food in sickness or in health? Can toxic relation or nutrition equal toxic relationships on the What Morning Show? Very important that you guys reach out to us and call us right now at 855-878-4652. I've got questions. True or false? Because you know there's a big thing about aspartame, right? Right? Big thing about aspartame. True or false? Can aspartame break down in your system into small amounts of formaldehyde? Now, I hear a lot of weird stuff about aspartame. Yeah. But formaldehyde, does it turn into formaldehyde after you drink a Coke Zero? Or maybe even a Sprite Zero? Sprite Zero might be, well, none of this is better, right? Right? Let's talk about it. Was soul food, you know, the scraps that slave master gave us, you know, the hog and all of that, was soul food healthier during slavery and maybe even in the 50s and 60s than it is today? Yes. Because at least that soul food didn't have GMOs. Somebody speak to that. 855-878-4652 is the number to dial. Is the American medical system simply a disease care system? Just here to maintain what you got, right? We're not here to heal you. Is that true or false? 855-878-4652. True or false? Is it illegal in most countries to treat cancer with high doses of vitamin C, which has been proven in high doses to actually go after and kill cancer cells? If that's true, is that not a cure for cancer? And why is it illegal? 855-878-4652. I'm starting to see that maybe, in a subtle way, America, as a government, doesn't really want its population to live too long. They want it to live for a certain amount of time and then die. Right? Just, you get a little bit of time here and then you die. Right? I don't think they want you to have a long, fruitful, meaningful life. I think they want you to play by the rules, play by the games, and then die. Next generation of batteries. That's what we need. 855-878-4652. Toxic food. Did you sign up to be your husband or wife's caretaker? Isn't that what you're going to become if you guys continue to eat the food that America is providing? Right? Who signs up? What if one of you loses your sexual faculties before the other? Does that mean sex is just off the table for you now? Or is it unrealistic to ask your partner for a sex pass if they're ill or debilitated with diabetes? You still a human, right? You still got desires and needs, right? 855-878-4652. Somebody call us right now. Is high fructose corn syrup the main ingredient for America's obesity problems? And is sugar the cocaine of the food industry? Somebody speak to us about this. Now, with no further ado, we got a whole panel of really bright, intelligent people, an august panel, right? So let me introduce my normal cats, the guys who are here, my co-host, comedian, intellectual irritant, and all-around ornery dude. No, that would be Bobby. Welcome to the show,
that's where I'm
Jeff
going.
Brown.
That's right where I'm going. If I do it right, that's right where I'm going.
Welcome to the show, Jeff Brown. How you been?
I'm good, brother.
Comedian,
good.
Star Search winner.
Oh, stop.
Bay Area champion.
Keep going.
Come on. He said, you just told me to stop.
Keep going. The hits don't stop. Writer of 10 Minutes of the Kings of Comedy, writer for Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, Sinbad. A lot of people you think are funny on their own or I'm ghostwriting.
Waves in his eyebrows, the whole 9 yards. So, Jeff Brown in the building. Appreciate you today, sir. Of course, Dr. Mark Goulston, author of Just Listen, national best-selling book on listening and how important it is to communication. Excellent book. Jeff claims he's read it, but never uses any of the principles. Yes, and you've gotten worse since you've written it.
It's like Penthouse Letters. It's like Penthouse Letters. Right. You read it. I'm not really doing anything.
Right. Great book. Glad to have you here. How are you today, sir?
I'm always happy to be here as Whitey Locks, and and if I can, I'm sure I will ask the ignorant white questions, so I don't want to disappoint people.
Yeah, the nerves are raw today, so you might want to be careful, Whitey Locks. And author, educator, just all around young activist, poet. This dude he's everything. He's a great kid, great guy. Glad he's here to weigh in on today's topic, killer food, none other than Deaf Poetry Jam. Legend. Out here in these streets. Got his own name, his own day in Oakland. Ise Lyfe Day. What? My man, Ise Lyfe in the building. What's happening?
I'm glad to be here today.
All right. And I'm saving Lord Henry for last.
I love that.
We have a coach here. She's a nutrition coach, right?
Yes.
Right? Her name is Wendy Myers. She's going to speak to us about nutrition in America. And just like we talked about last week, in education, there's a crisis in education. There's a crisis in nutrition. Yes, we've got more food than we've ever had in human history, but less nutrition, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, man, it's going to be crazy. And my uncle, Southern Sophisticate.
Yeah.
Anger management. Spit that real truth. Author of Real Men Don't Play. Bobby Glanton-Smith is in the building. How are you?
If I was doing any better, I had to take something for it.
Now, let me bring in the legend.
Yes.
We have a legend in the building. A legend in nutrition. A legend in health. A lot of people try to come at this man and try to say all kind of negative things about him. But let me tell you, when you look at his record, when you look at his body of knowledge, you'll see that he's changed the lives of a whole lot of people. Lisa Left Eye was one of them from the famed group TLC. She was one of them, but she wasn't the only. This brother knows about how brothers and sisters should reconnect to the food we used to eat, right? We don't eat the food we used to eat anymore. Now we're eating something else, and it's affecting, I believe, our mind, our body, our spirit, the whole 9 yards. Without further ado, legendary Dr. Sebi is in the building. Jeff, give him your mic. Welcome to the show, Baba Sebi. How are you?
Thank you so very much. Oh,
you ready to get into this topic?
well, I hope so.
All right. So with that said, we got to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to deal with those questions I laid out. Y'all ready to get busy?
Yes, I am.
All right, then. I'll see y'all in 2 minutes. So what morning? Holla!
White bread is made from wheat flour, from which the bran and the germ have been removed through the process known as milling. Milling gives white flour a longer shelf life by removing the bran, which contains oil, allowing products made with it, like white bread, the ability to survive storage and transit times. In addition, the flour used in white bread is often bleached using potassium bromate or chlorine dioxide gas to remove any slight yellow color and make its baking properties more predictable. While the milling process helps improve white flour's shelf life, it does remove nutrients like some dietary fiber, iron, B vitamins, and micronutrients. The Miami Herald wrote on June 23, 2011, chemically treated produce, highly processed foods, and refined ingredients like white flour and sugar cause sickness and disease, as well as a host of minor ailments such as digestive issues and lack of energy. The Herald Sun wrote on June 24, 2011, the New England Journal of Medicine published research as a host of minor ailments such as digestive issues and lack of energy. The Herald Sun wrote on June 24, 2011, the New England Journal of Medicine published research that advised Weight Watchers to cut out sugar-sweetened drinks, potatoes, and refined grain foods such as white bread, white rice, and low-fiber cereals. They urged people to eat more natural foods such as fruit and vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and yogurt, while avoiding anything processed.
Butcher James Faulkner runs Queensland Natural Beef Company, an organisation dedicated to using as few additives in meat from paddock to plate as possible. But tonight, he's exposing how some parts of the industry are able to trick their customers and use whatever it takes.
Yeah. I've just got some fine diced beef and my special enzyme. I'm just going to mix it up a bit.
Why have we got the masks on?
This is dangerous. See that? Don't breathe that in.
This powder is transglutaminase enzyme, otherwise known as meat glue. Meat glues come in a number of forms, some produced by cultivating bacteria, the others, the primary ingredient comes from the blood plasma of pigs and cattle, specifically the coagulant which causes blood to clot. In the food industry, it has amazing properties.
So just got a little bit here, about a teaspoonful.
Yep.
Just over the top like that. And with our gloves on, of course, we mix it up.
Then roll it in plastic film and refrigerate. 6 hours later, you have a solid piece of meat. And essentially, you've got a reborn, rebirthed thigh fillet.
More or less, yeah.
Ours uncooked is easy to spot the difference, but cooked is another story. Okay, so the meat glue one is on the right, and the real McCoy is on the left. And it's not just beef. Pork, lamb, fish and chicken are all stuck back together using this glue. It looks like one piece of chicken.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yep.
But hard to tell, isn't it?
Particularly that. On the grill, it's even harder to pick. So that's the real McCoy. Give this a burl. Nice and tender, nicely salted. All right, let's go for the meat glue. I can't tell the difference.
Wow, meat glue. So let me ask you, is the American food industry trying to do its part in reducing the population? Because we've all heard population control, the Rockefellers, and it's 7 billion plus people on the planet Earth. What better way than to turn food into a toxic, poisonous, addictive drug? Have we heard of the term food-like products? What does it all mean? Our guests are going to talk about it right now. Let me do this. Of course, you guys can all just jump in, but I want to start with Dr. Sebi. Dr. Sebi, why is it that America is the fattest, sickest country in the world when it comes to food consumption?
I think that's the problem. Food. What is food? Food is supposed to nourish the system. But is it food that we're eating? Food is electrical. The body is electrical. The body only assimilates something through the process of what? Chemical affinity. So when we talk about food, what is food? I've said again, food is electrical. It isn't rice and beans and flour. With native plants that resonate with the human body. This ate the Maya, the African people in the jungle, the North American Indian. They didn't have potatoes. They didn't have yams. They didn't have any carbohydrates. What did they have? They had that which grows naturally. That which grows naturally is what? Is considered native. They are electrical. They electrify the system. Why America's fat? Well, you know, I've been American now for 60 years. I came here when I was 20. I remember when everybody was slim, happy in New Orleans. You know, just look at Soul Train. You see it.
Yeah.
Now, everybody's fat. Why? Well, things have changed.
Wow.
Like you said, things have changed.
Dr. G? Wendy? Bobby, I know everybody got something to say.
I got something to say.
Let me hear from Dr. G.
You sure? All right.
And then you.
All right.
Dr. G.
You know, a couple of years ago, I was fortunate to have a dinner with Norman Lear.
Creator of Good Times.
All in
He's
the family,
never seen it.
All in the family, and a guy named Warren Bennis, who was my last living mentor who died last week. And I asked him, I said, what do you think is the greatest danger for the future of the world? And they use this word, they both said the same thing, expediency, meaning everyone's in a rush. And when you are in a rush to get more sooner, and that's all you think about, you make mistakes, you stop caring, you stop knowing what's important, you stop knowing what's natural. And he said this idea that everyone is in a rush, people do not pause. They do not pause to think of really what they need. All they think about is what they want. And that is what's destroying the world. So it seems, and I think the pace of things is picking up. And I think you're right about the energy and and there's a lot of electricity in all that energy, but it's not necessarily good electricity. All that energy, it's creating friction. And I think that translates to eating poorly, not taking care of yourself.
Right. It's like a frenetic energy.
It's like that.
Yeah. Jeff Brown, and then Wendy, and then Bobby.
I had a whole different definition for meat glue until today.
What was your definition of meat glue?
We're in mixed company. Respect your presence. I think
I can handle it.
I'll bet you can. I am dumbfounded. I just had this conversation with my kids today about where soul food comes from. Just this morning. And if y'all don't hear nothing else I say, understand that black people are killing themselves in record numbers on Thanksgiving and at cookouts. The soul food, you're not eating soul food. Soul food's eating you.
Wow. Good point. Wendy?
Yeah, well, I'm from Texas. I've had my fair share of soul food.
I bet.
And it is frightening. It is frightening what is in the food. There's 3,000 chemical additives that are put in food and flavorings. The food you're eating at restaurants, at Olive Garden, Cheesecake Factory, that is not food. It's actually made at plants. And it's assembled at the restaurants.
Wait.
Back up. That's good.
This is like some Lego food?
Yes.
You mean they put it, wait a minute. That was heavy. It's assembled so they're not actually cooking in the restaurant.
No, they are assembling it at the restaurant.
Say more about that. Go deeper into that process.
Yeah, well, they have, like I said, 3,000 different food additives. Many of them are flavors. They have barbecue chicken flavor. They've got smoked chicken flavor. They've got all kinds of different flavors that they put in the foods. They assemble it at the factory with the meat glues. And then they add the flavorings to it, and they pack it up in little packages, vacuum-packed packages, that chicken breast, and it is shipped to the restaurants, and it's literally assembled at the restaurant.
Wow. Is this all restaurants? Because can we find a restaurant where they actually cook in the mug?
Well, these are the chain restaurants, the big chain restaurants where they have them all over the United States, and they have
P.F. Chang,
Friday.
Don't say P.F. Chang. Oh, no.
No, let's go even deeper. What about some of the more high-end restaurants?
Well, those are usually on the safe side. Usually when they're run by very passionate chefs that are very passionate about their food.
What about crustaceans?
Oh, no, that kind of restaurant, that kind of high-end restaurant, no, that's not assembled. There's only one of those, or maybe a handful.
What about Chipotle?
They assemble burritos for sure, though.
No, stop.
I think Chipotle has they do a lot of work to have a very good track record.
Yeah, you're
I think they have very high-quality food. It's kind of the more mid-range, like the Olive Garden and the Cheesecake Factories, those type of restaurants where they have to centralize production and to save costs.
Good stuff. Bobby G and then Ice.
One of the people that Dr. Sebi has influenced over the years is a brother named Adonijah Miramar L, who I've had the blessing of knowing for about the last 10 years. And he introduced me to something that I want to share with this audience, and it's the local food economy. Because as long as they're shipping foods from great distances, it is compromising the ability for the food to ever be anything but secondary to our need for fresh, electric food, as this brother just mentioned, and it made me think about where I'm from down south and how you look at food now when you go into a grocery store. A tomato, it ought to be against the law for them to sell that.
Right. Oh my God, yes.
You cannot, there's no juice in it. There's no seeds in it. It's like
it's barely red.
Has been, seedless grapes. Why would you eat a grape that doesn't have, it's genetically altered? So the thing that I want us to discuss today, in addition to the food products that are killing us, is how we end up with a mindset that allows us to dismiss the fact that everything worked pretty well when it came right out of the ground.
What about food and sexuality? Does the wrong food hinder one's abilities to, the libido and all of this? Speak to us about it, Ise.
Well, what I was thinking about is just the electricity. When Sebi was talking about the electricity in the food, and even the energy. When we first started doing this work to educate young people about, you talk about racism, but there's different forms of racism, and geographical, environmental racism, the way that the fast food places are put everywhere. And we looked at the way that the people who are still eating meat, the traumatic way that animals are being killed.
Right.
And so if it's taking an hour and a half for an animal to die, and that fear and that terror goes down into the meat, and we're consuming and we're eating that terror, we're eating that chemical imbalance in food, along with the energy of the people who are preparing food. Like you're saying, what is the energy or the emotional health status of people that are preparing the food? People who have their hands on your food.
Right. So if the devil is making a sandwich, it's still evil.
Yeah. So and more so than to be clear, I mean a person that's being treated unfairly in the workplace, a person that's being paid an unfair wage, a person that has a high stress life, does that lack of vitality go into the food?
Wow. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, more killer food, population control. I believe there's a ploy, but we'll get into that later. Holla at us. What morning?
Talk about avoiding these incognito toxic substances that are hiding in the food supply that go beyond GMOs and even some of the stuff that most of us are aware of.
My health secret number 3 is to eat clean foods. I mean, we've gone down the track of health over the last 20 or 30 years, and it's because our food supply has been contaminated. It's been heavily sprayed with pesticides and insecticide residue. It's been out-farmed. The soils haven't been changed, which means we have the mineral and the vitamin content of our foods that's been depleted. We have processed canned foods. We have microwaved foods. When you look at the toxic buildup of foods, and in the food supply today, with all the hormones being injected into meat and with the genetically modified foods, especially corn and soy, we have the majority of foods out there that are actually going to cause or initiate some form of disease inside the body. So the first thing that I recommend, I mean, if you look at the majority of the toxins that are coming into the human body, they're all going to come in through the mouth. And how they get in the system is they're going to come in through your intestinal lining. And that's another reason we have so many intestinal issues these days. Colon cancer, stomach problems, irritable bowel syndrome, ulcerative colitis. That just tells you right there that we have serious situations with the food. And that just tells you that the food is contaminated.
Ever wondered what those numbers are on the stickers of the fruits and vegetables that you buy at the store? Well, they're called price lookup codes, or PLUs for short, and they can actually give you some pretty cool information. PLU codes are designed to help retailers identify produce and manage inventory, but you can use them to distinguish conventional from organic produce, and maybe, just maybe, catch a glimpse of a genetically modified fruit or vegetable. Price lookup codes always have at least 4 digits. For example, 4011 is the code assigned to a standard yellow banana. But when you find the number 9 in front of this 4-digit code, that means that the item is organically grown. So organic bananas are labeled as 94011. If you happen to see the number 8 in front of the 4-digit number, it means that the food is genetically engineered. But you may learn it's tough to find a number 8 food. Why? Because genetically engineered foods are not currently required to be labeled as such in the United States. Producers don't have an incentive to label GE foods since consumers do not pay more for them. And Some organizations are concerned that labeling would scare people off unnecessarily, since the Food and Drug Administration says that GE foods are safe.
And so many countries across the world are banning GMOs. And they're watching the American population as if it was a science experiment and an aquarium. Like, that's what they're eating over there.
So in 20 years, we're just going to go and take Magic Mountain and all the titty bars from them because they're not going to have the strength. So it always gets back to Magic Mountain and titty bars.
And scene. Thank you, Jeff, for the funny moment that swing and a miss.
I'm sorry.
Welcome back to the ZoWilliams Morning Show. We're in the building right now. Of course, just joining us is Sean Hashmi. I said it right? Hashmi. Right? He's Pakistani by ethnicity and nationality. He is here to join us. He's a medical doctor. He's a board-certified internist. Dude, his whole science is on obesity. Wow. A doctor that deals with obesity. And you should know, food in America is causing people to just fat off at alarming rates, right? At alarming rates, right? So how do you stop the fat off movement, Doc?
You know, before you even talk about food, I'll tell you, there's a word that's far more important than that, and that's the word sexy. And the reason that word is so important in today's day and age is I have never, ever seen a commercial that made broccoli look sexy. But I've seen Carl's Jr. make their burgers look incredibly sexy.
Yeah, the car wash scene.
Exactly. Yeah. But when you look at kids and they go in a grocery store, look at the colors on the cereal boxes. Look at what they do. They attract you to all these colors. So it all starts off with your young parents. You know, when a baby is not even born yet, they start to develop heart disease if the mother's already eating badly. We have had children who were stillborn, and when they do autopsies, you can see streaks of heart disease forming. By the time you're 18 years old, we have studies to show that you have built up nice levels of plaque at the age of 18. Dr. Sebi was mentioning in the break about not eating meat. I will tell you, there's a huge controversy over this. And, you know, in medicine, for the longest time, doctors have been really bad about looking at anything outside the books. But that's changing. There's a new generation of doctors. I emphasize plant-based diet. I'm a big proponent of plant-based diet. And there's a lot more of us coming around the corner.
Good. So listen, really quickly, we've got a Skype guest on, another doctor. Oh, he's on the phone. That's fine. Dr. John Boyd. Dr. John W. Boyd is a fourth-generation farmer, as well as America's foremost, most effective defenders of the civil rights of farmers. Because, you know, Monsanto, they don't get to own those seeds. Monsanto has genetically modified the seeds, and they lease the seeds to the farmers. He could speak to this at length. Brother John, welcome to the show, man. Can you talk to us about the hell that farmers are catching? We can't even get fresh food from the farmers now. Talk to us, brother.
That is, and thank you very, very much for having me on your show. It's been very, very frustrating for small farmers and black farmers alike to get conventional seed from local dealers throughout the United States. Monsanto has bought up all of the floor space, which means that if a small farmer like myself wanted a conventional seed, I would have to order that seed a year out, which is not realistic for small farmers because they get farm operating loans every year. So really these Monsantos and DuPonts of the world have really sewn up the market to where the consumers will no longer, or more likely, won't be able to get a conventional food here into the food stream. And, you know, you have this thing now, if I have a conventional corn crop or a conventional soybean crop, and I'm next to a GMO farmer, and he sprays my conventional crop, it actually kills the corn and it kills the soybean. So we have a real bad problem here.
Wow. And Dr. Boyd, my co-host Jeff Brown has a question for you.
Hey, Doc. In advance, I thank you for the answer to this question. I thank you for all your work. Is it possible, other than in my utopian brain, for some cats to come along and go, how much, Doc, does it cost you to produce like it was 1950? And me and these 10 families are going to just pay you to grow our food?
Oh, they're going to come get you.
Oh, that would, yes. And they, Montana had sued more farmers, and I've never heard of a company getting away with continuously suing their own customers. Mm-hmm. And we need more connections like this, to where we could team up or hook up or partner up with people who want conventional food, and not rely on these massive grain elevators to buy our commodities.
But
if we can start partner with the general public to produce our food, I think you see a big dent in the Montana and the DuPonts of the world.
Absolutely. And Dr. Boyd, I think what Jeff was trying to hear, Jeff, he answered your question, because they
talk to me like I'm 5.
Listen, the Popo will shut him down.
Wow.
For doing that.
Okay, there you go. Now
a farmer,
they probably would.
From state to state. Hold on, Dr. Boyd. From state to state, based off of the state laws, you can't get raw milk. If you buy some raw milk in California, you can't take that raw milk to Georgia.
Like it's drug trafficking.
It's like drug trafficking. They'd be like, hold on. You got raw milk.
I got that real milk.
For real. Okay. For real. Bobby has a point. He's been itching. God damn it, Bobby. Come on, Bobby.
Well, I want to help Jeff with the question he just asked Brother Boyd. You don't have to, wherever he's at right now, in 15 minutes, I can take you where you can produce food locally that's first-generation food, and it would invigorate your body.
Okay, that's what's up.
Okay, and Dr. Sebi knows the brothers I'm talking about. What we need to start discussing in this construct is local food economies, because when you look at healthy communities around the world, they bring fresh fruit every day.
Right.
I mean, once you start preserving food, you defeated the purpose of even having it. Right. And I know when I eat right, and I have the blessing of being exposed to that, I get invigorated from
Bobby,
the food.
Here's a great counterpoint. Is it on the horizon that these local food communities are going to be seen? Bear with me here. Growing your own food, is it going to be seen as a terrorist act at some point?
Well,
are they taking over the right for people to grow their own foods?
No, actually, it's becoming a trend, because you go to a number of restaurants nowadays, they brag about the fact that they have locally grown food, because people with money and intelligence and education are realizing I got everything but my health. Mm-hmm. I went for the hype and the big steak dinner and all of these, processed foods that they package so wonderfully that the lady was talking about in the last segment, and they're sicker. And with people my age, I'm 60 years old.
You just turned 60, Bobby.
Right.
Don't try to claim 60 like you've been rolling.
I'm here now.
You're like 30 minutes into 60, Bobby.
70% of Americans are on some form of prescription drugs. 70%.
Wow.
55 and older are on 5 forms of medication.
Wow.
I'm on 0 forms of medication. It has everything to do with the exposure to information like the brother here is putting out, Adonijah is putting out, because without that information, man, we keep going back to those same principles that got us sick in the first place.
I just juiced this morning. I had a carrot, beet, apple.
You mean like
celery,
the weed juice we have here?
Ginger that I put into my Jack LaLanne. What y'all are telling me is that basically I didn't do a damn thing.
That was Frankenfood.
I'm full of right now. Wow.
Listen, and you know what? Before we go to break, I wanted Baba Sebi to speak to black people, black men, Africans not eating meat. You were talking about that during the break. Could you explain that to us?
This came up in the Supreme Court. They asked me, why do you give everyone the same compounds? I said, because there's only one disease. There's never been 2.
Wow.
When I made that statement, naturally, it was like way out. So the judge asked, what is the one disease? I said, when the mucous membrane has been compromised.
Whoa.
If you have mucus in the nasal passages, it's sinusitis.
It's a wrap.
Mucus in the bronchial tube, bronchitis. Mucus in the lung, pneumonia. Dr. Victor Herbert said, what about AIDS? Well, the mucus is in the blood, the skin, and the lymphatic system simultaneously. Now, about the black man, do you know that in the 500 years since we experienced the West, we haven't had food? The food that is consistent with our DNA was left in Africa. Because I asked the Supreme Court, when you remove the black man from Africa, did you bring his food with him? They said no. Well, what have we been eating all these years? Starch and blood. Uric acid and carbonic acid.
Starch and blood.
I was a recipient.
We can't watch none of this? Oh my God, they should have taped it. It was one on C-SPAN.
But you know what else is crazy? Everybody who's come from somewhere else got a chance to bring their food. Wow. Listen, we're going to take a quick break. It's getting crazy in here. Jesus. Killer food. I'm dying right now.
I'm dying over here. Oh my God, how he has a rap career is beyond me. I don't get it. And he takes his shirt off. Oh my God, he looks like 50 pounds of chewed Tootsie Rolls with his... All right. Now, you are in white fashion. You know white boys always leave the house like they're going to help somebody move. Resist and defend the horrible house. There are some horrible people. And what you need to do is start policing your own. All right. Week number 2, Sharon Cummings has not called. Teen Wolf, Dave Teen Wolf, has Sharon Cummings called? Do I have any messages from Sharon Cummings? Sharon Cummings, please call the show.
Please tell us who Sharon Cummings is.
Oh, Sharon Cummings is the lady who we found out a few shows ago that made a very, very derogatory statement with regard to a man who called in about his missing daughter from her police station, and this daughter wound up dead. She said, according to him, we don't run no goddamn babysitting service. So I'm waiting to hear her frame that in the warm, wonderful, positive way that she meant it. To me, this kind of this today's subject kind of ties everything all together. Stop bullying is where I want to go with this. Stop the bullying. This is all because of how we treated the dudes that wore black socks to gym class. These guys are now running the world. The dudes used to beat up, dudes used to push down, dudes used to play dodgeball. The first dude you hit, you know what he said? I'm going to make some food that poisons the rest of the earth. And that's what he's doing. Okay, we are being run in the dirt by people who've been bullied. Cops. Most cops, I took a risk. This was the night I got beat up by a cop. I told him, dude, this animosity that you have for me is about some dude that beat you up in gym class. He's gone. He's not even who he was. Now, I know you're going to whip my ass now, but that's the truth. This all gets back to how we treat one another. These people who are making these rules are also eating this damn food. They're also eating the food. That picture that I had put up of Obama, I have this question. I have this question to the president. Mr. President, when you were out with Michelle, when you put that fork in her mouth, was that GMO food on that fork? Are you eating the shit that you're allowing us to eat? You signed the Monsanto Act into effect. Black people who bought into the Obama with the hope sign, and that's all he sold you was hope, so he don't owe you shit because he didn't promise you shit? Are you paying any attention to what you're eating? Because he has allowed you, he's one of the people on the train that has allowed you to eat it. I say again, you are not eating soul food. Soul food is eating your monkey ass. I'm done.
Wow. The intellectual rant brought to you by Jeff Brown. Very intelligent, but also ignorant at the same time.
Intelligent.
No,
peanut butter in the chocolate.
No, very powerful stuff, man. I keep trying to tell people. What happened to Mike Brown? 17-year-old kid. Listen, this is a death movement that America is in. We're right now. We're in Iraq. We dropping bombs, and we dropping kids on the streets in America, right? Every time we turn on the news, it is a specific type of kid that's getting killed. How often do you see Bobby from Palisades, or Chad,
or Chance,
from Manhattan Beach,
Race,
right, or Jace,
or Apple,
right? You don't see those kids under the pressure that young African American males are under. So we can talk about what you're talking about right now. That's one aspect of the death movement. The other aspect is the food, right?
Right.
So we're going to kill you socially, right? We're going to make sure the school you go to is a farm, a factory that will keep prison beds full, especially these privatized prisons. And we want a specific type of inmate, right? He got to be brown, and we'll take all shades of brown, right?
The same people that can't have nuclear weapons.
Oh, yeah. We take all shades of brown.
Same group.
Right? We take all shades of brown. But when we start looking at the real criminals in the world, I don't think Bush can go. I don't think George W. Bush can go to Switzerland because he's up for war crimes in Switzerland. He can't go somewhere over in Europe because if we see you, Bush,
it's on.
We taking your ass down, Bush. But you understand what I'm saying? This is a death movement that's happening in our culture. And what I'm tired of hearing is black people, my own folk, fighting against me. Let me introduce my brother who's here right now. This brother, listen, man, we from the same town. We from Pasadena. He created this brand, Weed Juice.
Sitting here with his guns out.
Speak to us, brother. He's a personal trainer, physical trainer. Tell them who you are and where they can find you and support what you do.
I'm Hassan McCullough. I'm from Pasadena. I'm a trainer. I've been training since '97. I've had a juice company since 2008. Weed Juice. You can find me at weedjuice.com, OUI-juice.com.
Now, you've been speaking to, don't flex, because you're going to embarrass a lot of people in here. Dude. But you've been listening to the show, right? You heard Baba Sebi speak to us about what's good for us to eat and what's electric and what is vital. Why is it that it appears that people just have an affinity for food-like stuff as opposed to food stuff? Because I can't get my kids to eat nothing green. What is the problem?
Well, you have certain things that taste good, like ice cream that has no nutritional value to it. Some cereal has no nutritional value to it. Things that have nutritional value, vegetables. People kind of flow away from vegetables because they, just like he said, they see stuff on TV that looks more sexy, like a burger. Paris Hilton on selling a burger and stuff like that. Vegetables aren't really sexy. Fruit is not really sexy all the time, but it is your dessert. Your fruit dessert is actually fruit. That's something that's better for you. That's why I came up with juice and juicing for everybody, because most people like fruit juices. But vegetable juice is actually better for you. It's better to get the enzymes from the juices and put it in your mouth. When you drink the juice, you just don't drink it. You have to drink the juice, switch it around, set it on your tongue, let your teeth activate with the juices. It's just, you enjoy the juice. You just don't drink it.
Savor it.
Okay. Yes, Bobby.
I think he just opened up a window. It's about marketing. You've heard me say many times, you get a propaganda to the proper goose, you can all of that. The real deal is this. If you give people the information, and then they can tie it to their own personal experience. I remember when I was a young kid, and I used to just eat terribly. Without knowing I was eating terribly. Pinto beans with sugar on it, rice.
You from Tennessee, boy?
Oh, man. But check this out. One thing I do remember, I remember going to the bathroom, man, and sitting in there and dropping some stones, man. I mean, I looked at my stool. I looked at my stool and I said, man, I went too hard.
I am learning way too much right now.
It hurt that bad.
Dude.
So when you start thinking about the pleasure of having a peaceful stool, and then educating people you can look at your stool and pretty much tell where you are from a health standpoint.
That's what Big Mama used to do. I seen it. It's dark. It ain't supposed to be that dark. It's heavy. It's settled down at the bottom. Baby. It's supposed to float now. Something wrong.
That's
Come
right.
Let's take some castor oil.
Read your turds like tea leaves. Just
your body will tell you a lot about your state of health, man.
Wow.
It really will.
Wow. Baba Sebi, could you please enlighten us on a course of action? Because we've heard about you. We saw you on the VH1 special with Lisa Left Eye Lopez and how you changed her life. Some people have said that the proper nutrition can heal AIDS, can heal herpes, can heal all types of things that a lot of people are saying are incurable. Could you speak to nutrition and the proper nutrition as a form of medicine?
Well, there is no such thing as proper nutrition. It's nutrition. If it's nutritious, it's nutritious. It's electrical. This is why this headline came out here. And Slope Herbalist ruled not guilty. Dr. Sebi natural cure for AIDS and more use food, not drugs. Yes, we cure AIDS. I've cured many people of AIDS. No, it's new. Sickle cell, lupus and herpes and blindness. When we talk about nourishing the body, we have to consider, like I said, those substances, those plants that are electrical. Why? Because they will deliver electricity to an electric body. You cannot eat something that has starch and expect to obtain from it food value. Because starch is carbonic acid. Starch is a chemical. It's not a food. So as we look at this platform of food, we have to be very careful. Some people say that garlic is alkali. No, garlic has a pH of 3.3, very acid. Some people recommend carrot juice. Carrot juice is 4.5, is acid also. These things we have to know.
I just had a big carrot juice this morning, Dr.
Go ahead, Doc.
We have to now reassess. We have to change everything. We have to take another look at things. As for the black race, we are comatose. We are angry, very angry. And we rightfully so. Because we have not been given food in the last 500 years of our lives. Everything we've been eating, been undermining our genetical predisposition, everything. So, in selecting food, I would go to the ocean, iodides and bromides. I would also use, instead of corn, teosinte, what the Indian used to use, is a palm, has no starch. In fact, you could select from the forest anything that is starchless. It is nutritious. But spelt bread, that's good. Mushrooms, starchless. Quinoa, starchless. So there are things in the community that we could select from that are very healthy, that we could maintain that level of health that we need, because it is true what you alluded to, and you did, Doc. Toxic food, toxic thinking. I was there, because in 1961, I was placed in an insane asylum. I was schizophrenic and I was paranoid. Why was that? I was consuming a lot of pork meat. I didn't know it was dangerous.
Well, what's dangerous about pork? A lot of African Americans don't know. Tell us.
Pork, number one, the trichina worm.
Oh, yeah.
Then the level of fat that exists in the pork clogs the arteries, prevent the brain from receiving oxygen. Pork is very bad for us. May be good for someone else, not us.
Wow.
We never had meat in our diet when we were in the jungles of Africa. No, we only had electric food. Now you go to Africa, every African is eating starch and blood, and none of it is from the forest.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, the ZoWilliams Morning Show is off the chain right now. When we come back, more from Wendy Myers, nutritionist. It's getting crazy. I'll be back at 2.2. Holla!
Is chicken wings meat?
The corporations own this country. I mean, what? The truth.
Look, you guys.
Okay, but we talked about
work for big corporations. You are corporations, so I take that to be the truth.
Okay,
corporations don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little different. I mean, the corporations we work for are a little different than Monsanto. Okay, we were talking last week about some of the stuff that is subsidized in America agriculturally, and it's all the stuff that goes into making the worst kinds of food. It's not beets and broccoli. It's
no,
only
there
sugar
should be
and
no subsidy. There should be no subsidies for any food.
Okay, but after the show, a lot of people said to me that's current. Why don't you talk about genetically modified foods? Okay, you're right. We should talk about genetically modified foods. And again, this is a conspiracy of both parties. Obama said in 2007 we would label genetically modified foods, which, by the way, Europe has this. China labels China, which puts
that
lead
bastion of freedom,
and puts lead in baby food, or some shit
like that. At least you know it's there.
Okay, but we can't have that in America. You know why? Because in America, corporations run the show. Even though 9 out of 10 Americans would like foods to at least be labeled to, at least we know they're Frankenfoods.
Why?
Okay, they can't. Why? Because it says it would hurt sales.
No.
So shut up and eat your fucking mutant chili. That's why, because
I think that's an exclamation point on this food industry. It's not designed to keep you alive. It's designed to make money off of you. The Matrix was a beautiful movie. The metaphor of the everyday citizen being a battery for an alien, non-human kind of life entity. Well, let's look up the definition of the word corporation. A corporation, legally speaking, is a fictitious person. Corporations run our lives. They run every aspect of who we are. The United States government is a corporation. And it's big business before lives. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to throw it to the panel. I want us to speak about a life that was taken out. Right? Michael Brown, 17 years old. A life that was taken out. I want us to speak about a life that was taken out. Because what bothers me as a black man in America that's raising 2 young black men, right? Nuriel Williams and Naeem Muhammad, my 2 young lions, right? What's bothering me is that PETA cares more about animals than they do about the Mike Browns of the world, right? I would want PETA to go naked, right, in St. Louis to say, you know what, we love little chows and puppies and chihuahuas and all of that, but we also love Mike Brown, so we're going to be butt-ass naked in the park protesting the abuse that's perpetuated against young African-American men, right, all over the country. I need some corporation, somebody that stands for something. Apple. Michael Jordan. We love your Jordans. We love your Nikes.
He's probably wearing
somebody. If not Michael Jordan, the owner of Nike. You know what? Niggas have made me a lot of money. Black folk done made me a lot of money. Let me step up and say thank you for the money by showing solidarity with this man's mama. Somebody do something to show that. Or otherwise, we got to do what Jeff has always argued, and that is strategic boycotting, financial boycotting.
No.
That's what you said, Jeff.
No, it's not.
What is it?
I said financial terrorism.
Financial terrorism.
Terrorism.
He wanted to be terrorism. Thanks, Jeff.
I wanted to be terrorism.
All right, Jeff. Okay. And then they'll drop 500,000 bombs on us.
No, they won't.
They won't?
No.
Talk to us about it.
Okay. First off,
everybody gets to speak on this.
Okay, I'm gonna speak as fast as I can. Thing one,
as you should.
Yes. All the boycotting and all the standing up and PETA being naked is fucking useless because black people want respect. You remind me of hoes who want to be treated like nice girls. You don't respect yourself, and you're expecting the earth to respect you. It's never going to happen. That's the definition of a sucker. Any person who respects a person, place, or thing more than that person, place, or thing respects itself is a sucker. That's why the new dude in town don't want to be in town with the town hoe. Now, because he's looked at as a sucker. What I think we need to do is stop saying that the police in St. Louis killed Mike Brown. No, they didn't. The dudes on duty in police uniforms killed Mike Brown. And if I had a tribe and Uncle Bobby had a tribe and somebody from Uncle Bobby's tribe did something bad to my tribe, the leaders would go to his tribe and say, offer up the dude who did this shameless thing or we go into war. We don't do that. We say it's the police. No, we need the names of the fat white motherfuckers I saw standing in the street over this boy's body, not allowing his parents to look at it. What is your name, dude? Not the police off, not the whole police department. You,
just
motherfucker. You. We want you, and we will start skinning motherfuckers until you show up.
Okay.
That's what we do.
Okay, now, Dr. Mark is sweating. Because you're talking about...
Starting with you! No.
Speak to us, Dr. G.
You know, when you can't get people to understand what you're saying or what you're feeling, you got to make them feel it. So I think rightly so, a lot of the black community feels like the world is stacked against them. And so you got to build on what Jeff said about the terrorism. You got to find a way to cause people in power to feel that in some way the world is stacked against them. I don't know how you do that, but unless you get people to actually feel what you feel, they're not going to care about what you feel.
Corey? Yeah, put that juice away. Don't try to be healthy now.
Got a hammock sandwich for breakfast.
Come on now.
Well, it always goes back to what I've always said, and I've always been bold enough to say. The war has already started. The way the system is set up, because like I agree with what Jeff said 100%, but the way the system is strategically set up is when something like this happens, it's hard to do what you say, Jeff, because the police officers that are standing around him, they weren't the one that killed the young man, but they've already thought of how to make it hard to find the person who done it. You know what I mean? It's never going to be as easy as, oh, he did it, let's go get him. It's always going. The people in charge of this country are brilliant at being wicked. So I'm just saying, if we're going to do something about it, man, it's the best thing to do is just get away from those people. And those people, honestly, my opinion is Caucasian people. As long as we are intermingled with them, we'll always have these problems because they're smart with bullshit.
Corey Holcomb, ladies and gentlemen. Wendy Myers!
Tell us how you really feel, Corey.
Tell us how you really feel. This is what this forum is about. Let it out. I don't give a damn. Let it out. Let it out. Speak on it.
Well, I think a big problem with men in the police force and even the military is toxicity. I don't understand why police forces aren't required to have some level of fitness and nutrition required, because you see them eating donuts.
You may have a chemical imbalance up in here.
They have chemical imbalances, namely cadmium toxicity. And there are studies that show that police officers and men in the military tend to be cadmium toxic, and it's what attracts them to those kinds of positions of power. Because when people are cadmium toxic, it makes them very much controlling, and makes them controlling and very rigid. And so I think when you eat a nutrient-deficient diet, it makes you more prone to heavy metal and chemical toxicities. And so if police forces are not required to have a certain level of nutrition and fitness and health, you see all these fat officers walking around, how is that person protecting me? Their brains aren't working, they have brain fog, and they're going to make mistakes like shooting Mike Brown.
Okay.
Jeff Brown.
Okay.
You got 10 seconds, damn it.
Okay.
He can't do it in 10?
I can't. I need at least 30. Can I have 30?
20.
20. Deal.
Done.
Okay. Being a prior service Marine, I'm going to have to call bullshit on that. Because if you look around the country, you got a bunch of fat police officers. These police officers in L.A., nice, neat, clean cars, in shape, Pilates, and will fuck you up. If you look very closely at the Rodney King video, all those guys are in shape. Okay? So it has nothing to do with that.
They will gas for a long time.
Minds. It is okay. The only thing an aggressor respects is equal or greater aggression. Period.
You know what? Cool Mo D. old school rapper, one of my best friends told me this, and I'll never forget it. He said, ignorance does not respect intelligence. He said, ignorance only respects aggression, because that's the only thing that will back it up. It can't understand intelligence, right? It can't understand reason. Bobby?
I think this latest execution just further embellishes the notion that cops are around the country feeling very comfortable right now taking black kids' lives because there's no backlash from it, not no sustained one, because we were so emotional about Trayvon, and then it went away.
Nothing.
This is going to be the same type of situation. I'm equally concerned with the fact that with the killer food notion of today, some of our people went out and broke in liquor stores and 7-Elevens. Now, if they were breaking in them to shut them down, that'd be one thing. But to go in there to get those products, it's like, what are we doing, man? Let's get this thing redirected, as you said at the outset of the show.
Right.
It has to be structural, it has to be focused, and there has to be a new leadership.
Right.
And a lot of the people in this room represent that leadership, whether you want to be or not.
All right, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to wrap. Very heavy show. Very meaningful show.
Dr. Safridi's new research suggests the danger to unborn babies, and in particular to children, and includes the newly identified risk of breast cancer as the child ages. The study was done on rats, but this expert says it strongly implies human risk.
But these exposures occurred at relatively low doses. Just two cans of drink are already exposing the child to a biologically significant dose. Parents of young children, they should think very, very carefully about giving drinks and other foods to their children that are sweetened with aspartame and, for that matter, other artificial sweeteners.
Just this weekend, the FDA released a statement discarding Safridi's previous research with similar findings, in part because he did not completely share all the data requested and all the pathology slides. The FDA has not evaluated the study presented today.
Based on the result of these two experiments, I think should be take action to review the regulation of aspartame.
Still, other international agencies weren't convinced either. Neither was the American Council on Science and Health.
My biggest concern here is that Americans will become unnecessarily concerned about using NutraSweet or aspartame. I feel terrible that some parents might feel that they're harming their children by letting them have a diet soda. I'd say NutraSweet has to be one of the most tested ingredients in our entire food supply.
They're trying to increase their share of your stomach and increase the amount of profit they're making off the food you eat.
I ate to the point that it hurt to move, and I would just lie in my bed and wish I was dead.
These companies rely on deep science and pure science to understand how we're attracted to food and how they can make their foods attractive to us.
There's science behind that crunch. Yogurt feels that way in your mouth for a reason. The food industry is even researching the connection between the taste receptors on your tongue and the corresponding chemical reaction in your brain. The result? Carefully engineered combinations of salt, sugar, fat, and chemicals deliberately designed so you can't eat just one. Michael Moss spent 4 years investigating the science behind processed food.
I was totally surprised. I spent time with the top scientists at the largest companies in this country, and it's amazing how much math and science and regression analysis and energy they put into finding the very perfect amount of salt, sugar, and fat in their products that'll send us over the moon.
A search through a database of scientific papers and food industry patents reveals the extent of the science behind food engineering. Chemistry, physics, biology, all commandeered into the service of making profitable food. Here's a process for enhancing the cheese flavor without the cheese, where starting materials are proteins and fats, which means the amount of expensive cheese can be reduced substantially.
If they can replicate.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back in the building live. Today's show, it's been crazy. Really quickly, Corey Holcomb has a new definition for artificial sweetener. Corey, what is the definition?
Well, I said artificial sweetener or artificial anyway. That's when a woman from a nightclub or a church says she loves you.
That's an artificial sweetener, ladies and gentlemen.
With some NutraSweet.
So we've been talking, man. We've been discussing several things. The food industry. We've been talking a little bit about the Mike Brown situation, and just really what I believe to be a culture of death in America right now, in terms of managing and governing its people. Who we didn't get to was two people, Dr. Sean Hashmi. I want you to talk to us about that. If you have any statement to make regarding the young brother that was murdered, we would love to hear from you. And I'm sure if his parents, if his mother is listening, if his dad is listening, they'd love to hear some words as well.
I think the only real thing to say about that is, first is, let's not let it be forgotten. All these things that happen, they get forgotten. You know, I grew up in Compton, and I grew up in an area where we didn't have a lot of money. And
You ain't got to explain Compton. We know Compton pretty well. Yes, go ahead.
The problem was, if you ever wanted to get anything healthy out there, you could never find it. I never saw a health food store over there, but I saw Taco Bell, I saw Jack in the Box. And this is such a rampant problem. You know, for the first time ever, you got a nice gym that showed up right up on 120th Street. That's the 24-hour fitness from Magic Johnson. We have this epidemic where all of us who make it, we run away from those neighborhoods, we never come back. And we sit here and we talk about how great all this stuff is, and look, we should do this and we should do that. What I want to see is for us to go back there and make some changes. I still go there and I still volunteer. I went to MLK High School. I went to MLK Hospital. I saw it when the kids were coming. I had a 17-month-old shot in the head coming. I had a 17-month-old shot in the head coming. Died right in front of me. So if we sit here and we talk about it, my request to everybody is the next week, let's step out and do something about it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I like the way you put your real life experience on top of that.
Some skin in the game.
Yeah, that's some skin in the game. And it's real because we have a platform here to have these open discussions. And I ask people, it's a call to action. Do something. If we promote Bobby and we buy Bobby's book, we build Bobby up, and now Bobby becomes this center, this factory of resources because we built him up, and then he can make those resources come back to us. That's why I've always respected Magic, because Magic was the one who made partnerships with corporations and brought those corporations back into the hood, right? That's why it's Magic Johnson's TGIF Fridays. And everyone say, we going down. Exactly. The Lego food. She explained it. They popped the sandwiches together. But he brought that company, he brought Starbucks into the neighborhood when Starbucks wasn't going to come to the neighborhood. But Magic was the ambassador who reached back. So I respect that aspect of what Magic Johnson is doing. But now what we need to do, I've always said we need to control our narrative. Now we need to control what we eat. And that's why we have Dr. Sebi in the building right now. Let me get Dr. Sebi back on the mic, Bobby. Sebi, how do people connect to you? And how is it that you kind of create a specific regimen for them? Do you do blood work or do they just talk to you and you create a prescribed method for them to heal? Here's your mic.
Well, after 22 years of research, I came to the conclusion that the package that I would put together would address the central nervous system, circulatory, naturally, digestive, nervous system, which is needed. I saw where there was a depletion in that area in the black folks of the world, not only in Africa, in America likewise, not to mention Brazil. So I put a package together that is composed of phosphates, carbonates, iodides, and bromides, which cover the whole entire human body. They're electrical. All I did was to notice the need that exists and to be careful in selecting from the forest these substances, raw material, that really would be able to deliver that which we need. Electric food, the African bio-mineral balance came out of that. our product are considered natural vegetation cell food. Cell food. If what you offers doesn't feed the cells, then it cannot be considered food.
Wow.
It should not be considered food.
Dr. Hashmi, I'm sorry.
So, you know, just on that same note, this is so important what you're saying. If you look at, there was a National Geographic special, they said, in the world, what is the healthiest population living over 100 that doesn't have any diseases? It turns out it's Okinawa, Japan.
Right.
And the reason for it is they don't have a GNC up there. They don't have a Whole Foods up there. They grow their food in their backyards, they eat it, and they eat fish. It's a crazy system where they had a 115-year-old who was out there dancing, and they asked her, what's your secret? And she said, I drink sake every night.
Wow.
It's not the sake, it's the fact that you're getting this food from the ground and you're eating it.
Right.
And so as we leave here and as we talk about our own health styles, do the same thing.
I agree.
So listen, we're going to break. When we come back, we're going to wrap it up. Today's topic, man, it's a heater. Crazy. We'll be back at 2.2. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the ZoWilliams Morning Show. First and foremost, I want to thank Wendy Myers. I want to thank Dr. Sebi. I want to thank Dr. Sean Hashmi. I want to thank Dr. John Boyd. I want to thank my man Hassan for coming in here with his juice, weedjuice.com. Please support that, brother. I want to thank everybody for their constructive criticism. Of course, Dr. G, Jeff Brown, Bobby G, my man Corey Holcomb, he made it. I'm glad you got here. I was expecting you to be here early to kill us with your comedy and your insight.
Bad food.
He was sick from bad food. Let me just say this. I always mention this. My favorite philosopher is J. Krishnamurti, right? J. Krishnamurti said, "It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." We spend too much time trying to fit in. We spend too much time trying to be normal. Normal is toxic. Let me say that again. Normal is toxic, right? Fitting in is toxic. You don't get to be who you really are when you're trying to fit in. What people fail to realize is we will cater to your beliefs because that's what makes you comfortable. But at the same time, these performance coaches, Tony Robbins and Wayne Dyer, they'll say, no, you need to be outside your comfort box. Right? Your comfort zone, right? Well, guess what? Being outside your comfort zone means rejecting everything that is normal, that everything society says you're supposed to have at a certain age, right? Why do I ask you to do this, right? There's no way you can look at your food and say this is toxic if you don't see it from the outside as opposed to from the inside as a participant. You're participating in Del Taco, right? You're participating in rallies. You're participating in McDonald's. You're participating in these things because you think the authority cares about you. The authority is the government that provides all of this. The FDA approves of it. That means it must be good. No. Just because they approve of it doesn't mean it's good. At the end of the day, they're no different than Hitler. Let's just be honest. What did Hitler say about people in general? Useless eaters, right? Was he that wrong? When you get the FDA approving things that will ultimately kill you, do they not also see you as a useless eater? Right? Listen, you're on a conveyor belt and it's called life. And we're trying to get your ass through a certain amount of Christmases and Easters and then you die. That's what we're trying to do. I see it just like recruiting. A lot of colleges are recruiting kids and they go, well, this kid is one and done, or this kid is two and done. Well, life in America is recruiting you in the same way. We don't want you to reach your life expectancy. The fuck? 70-something years of a regular, boring, mundane, mediocre life? You're taking up space here. Eat a fucking hamburger so you can get up out of here as quick as possible. We don't want you alive for long. Right? Right? I mean, can we really argue that? America's like Batman with no soul. It has something on everybody. Right? You know how Batman has some kryptonite just in case Superman goes ballistic? I got your ass, Superman. Kal-El, you get twisted. See, don't I put this on you. America's like Batman. We got our hands in all of these different places all over the world, right? Causing all types of conflict and for our interests, right? But at the end of the day, when we look at our people, when we look at the body of people that make up America, the only way for those people to experience the American dream is to be totally asleep. That's why it's a dream. You got to be at rapid eye movement, REM. You got to be asleep in order to really enjoy the American dream. It's an unfortunate thing, but this is who we are and this is how we're living, and it's unfortunate. But the only way is to do shows like this, is to bring a group of people together like this that aren't afraid to tell the truth. I respect Corey Holcomb because he'll come in here in the face of two white folk and say, white folk is y'all the reason motherfuckers is sick and dying. You know how many black people are afraid to do that? You know how many black men would, listen, Stephen A. Smith said something and his job was taken. Hey, shut your black ass up and go home for 2 weeks. You on punishment. When he came back, did he mention a syllable of what he said? Hell no. It's too much compliance. Freedom means to express, to say what you want. But there's too much fear in this culture, too much fear in this society. And what makes fear comfortable? A nice, thick, juicy Big Mac. I'm very comfortable now, and I'm no longer afraid. Could you supersize that and add one of them chocolate swirls Sunday? Right.
Got them pies. Give me one of them pies.
It's unfortunate, but that's who we are. I'm ZoWilliams, and that's my final thought. Let me go around the table really quickly and get everybody's contact information. We've got to support everything that everyone is doing. We Juice, WeJuice.com. Please support this brother right now. Ramo Mart, Black Mastery. Go to my website, IamZoWilliams.com. Purchase a copy of my book. Bobby G.
Grow grass. Instead of growing grass, grow some greens.
Wendy Myers, nutritionist, talk to us.
Yeah, hey, the underlying cause of disease is poor nutrition and heavy metal and chemical toxicity. So
there it
go
is.
learn about that on live110.com, my website.
What is it again?
Live110.com.
Bam. Corey Holcomb.
Hey, I'm in town this week. I'll be visiting young ladies' houses and telling them how they need to do better by their body and soul after I'm intimate with them.
Now you have to follow that, Dr. G.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to be his Uber.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I'm going to be his Uber.
Visit me at markgoulston.com. If you can't spell it, then you can't visit me.
Wow. Dr. G is gangster today. Sean Hashmi.
Food is medicine. Sleep is medicine. Exercise is medicine. If you want to get a hold of me, theworkoutdoc.com.
Wow. Right. Jeff?
Jeff Brown's Fan Squad on Facebook. Go to iTunes, get Jeff Brown's Wrong Ass Shit, the comedy album, and various ignorant ass ringtones.
And, of course, Baba Sebi. Brother Sebi, where can they find you? How do they support everything that you're doing? Call to action, support Dr. Sebi. Talk to us.
Dr. Sebi, electric cell food. DrSebi'sOffice.com.
DrSebi'sOffice.com.
How you spell it? S-E-B-I.
S-E-B-I. We appreciate everybody. Thank you for today. We'll be back next week with another heater. So what mornings? Holla.